Speed bumps in
Five.
that school.
4, 3, 2,
100.
1.
Call this committee of the whole meeting to order at 6:18 PM. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Allen?
Here.
Mayor Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Doherty? Mr. Burchett?
Here.
Mrs. Witt?
Here.
Ms. Marcus?
Here.
I'll make a motion that we excuse Councilman Daugherty from this meeting tonight.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes. We have the approval of the minutes from the committee of the whole meeting on February 27th. If there are no changes or no corrections, they will be approved as they are. Hearing none, they are approved. Finance Director, do you have a report?
I have nothing at this time.
City Manager,
I have no items, Ms. Marcus, thank you.
Mayor Murphy,
I have nothing at this time, thank you.
Law Director.
I just have one item, and that is to request an executive session at the end of this meeting with no business to follow for matters pertaining to disposition of city-owned real estate.
Somebody want to make a
I'll make a
motion?
motion
Okay.
that we have an executive session
Motion
as per
existing.
the law director's statement.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes,
Ms. Marcus?
Yes. Clerk of Council.
I have nothing to report, thank you.
We'll move into business. The first item is the CRHC, Community Reinvestment Housing Council, and the TIRC, Tax Incentive Review Council, the review of those agencies.
Yes, thank you. This is an annual housekeeping item. These meetings have actually not occurred yet. The CRHC, which the city schedules, is scheduled for next Monday, and the Turk is scheduled for the 25th, and that is handled by the Montgomery County Auditor's Office. But in order to make the deadline to get everything filed by the end of March, we need to put this on the committee of the whole to move forward for legislation to support the recommendations of both those boards, which again will be forthcoming before the next meeting. Again, for a refresher, this is about community reinvestment area abatements and making sure that businesses are adhering to their pledges. So I would like to request that legislation be drawn.
I'll make the motion that we have legislation drawn up for the CRHC and the TIRC for the next regular meeting, council meeting.
Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes,
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes. The next item is the Marine Codified Ordinances, quarterly codification supplement.
Okay, so the city entered into an agreement with Walter Drain in November to begin receiving quarterly supplements for the Marine Codified Ordinances. The supplement's the first quarterly update installment. It contains revisions through January 2025. I'm asking for authorization to prepare an ordinance with an emergency clause so the changes can be adopted and go into effect immediately after passage.
I'll make a motion that we have legislation drawn up for the Moraine codified ordinances with an emergency inclusion.
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
yes,
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes. Next item is the ratification of the Montgomery County Solid Waste Management District Plan update.
So the Montgomery County Solid Waste Management District Plan is updated every 5 years. The district plan has been completed and it was attached in the packet. 70% of the jurisdictions are needed to ratify the plan. I've been in touch with Mr. John Manier, the Assistant Director of Montgomery County Solid Waste, and here one of his representatives would like to give a presentation of the plan to give council a chance to ask questions. I have scheduled that presentation for March 27th at the next city council meeting, and I'm asking for approval to prepare legislation to ratify the changes to be voted on at that same meeting.
questions or comments?
You need legislation?
Mhm.
I'll make a motion that the necessary legislation be prepared.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Burchett,
Yes.
Mrs. Witt,
Yes.
Mrs. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Marcus.
Yes. The next item is the 2025 farmhouse lease program. We have bids received on each one of those. I believe there's 2 of them.
Yes, good evening, City Council. So this is a housekeeping item that generally happens every 3 years. So we did receive a bid for each farmland property. These were from the previous tenants, Mr. Getter and Mr. Allison. They were the only bids received for each property for the legal notice that was posted from February 21st, 2025 through March 3rd of 2025. I would like to select Mark Allison for the Lyleburn Farm and Chip Getter for the farm at Soldiers Home. Mark Allison gave a bid of $110 as a flat fee, and then Chip Getter gave a bid for $4,560 a year. And generally, they do a year and then they do 2 additional terms. So I'd like to ask for legal legislation to move forward with this, and they've been great tenants to both those properties, and we've been very happy with them.
I'll make a motion that the necessary legislation be prepared for the rental of the lease of the farm property as requested by the city planner.
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Allen,
Yes.
Mayor Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Burchett,
Yes.
Mrs. Witt,
Yes.
Ms. Marcus.
Yes. The next item is the Holes Creek pedestrian bridge land use permit.
There's a little button right here in the front.
Me up for failure. Okay. This is a renewal of an agreement with MCD for the pedestrian bridge that goes over Holes Creek. It is recommended that a resolution authorizing an agreement with the Miami Conservancy District for permit 13-3177-1 be drafted.
I'll make a motion that we have legislation prepared for the Holes Creek land use permit, the next meeting.
Are there any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Burchett,
Yes.
Mrs. Witt,
Yes.
Mrs. Allen,
Yes.
Mayor Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Marcus.
Yes. The final item is a building maintenance ban.
Yes, I'm asking for funding for a budgeted item. It's an upgrade to our fleet that we have. It's a replacement of a 20-year-old vehicle that's a high miles vehicle.
I'll make a motion that we have legislation drawn up for the building maintenance van.
Any other questions or comments?
This is coming under budget.
It's
Gotcha.
actually way under what our
Okay.
expected was.
Good.
I think we were budgeted for 75,
And Rocky's completely outfitted, correct?
completely outfitted.
Yeah.
This is a van that's ready for us to start working immediately
It's
as
a
soon as
Ford
it comes in.
Connect.
It's an ordered vehicle.
Good.
This is a Ford Connect.
It's a Ford Transit van. I don't know if you've seen Jerry Dunn's van, his police van. It'll look identical to it.
Any other questions or comments? Have a motion?
I'll make a motion that
I
the
made,
necessary.
she already
She already
made.
made it. Sorry, I lost track. Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Burchett,
Yes.
Mrs. Witt,
Yes.
Mrs. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Marcus.
Yes. Okay, we have
Thank
no
you.
other business, so we will deal with staff and council reports. If staff has anything they want to bring before council? No takers? Nobody gonna fight over it? Okay, the city manager,
I have nothing, Ms. Marcus, thank you.
Mayor Murphy,
I have nothing at this time, thank you.
finance director?
I have nothing at this time. Thank you.
Audra,
No, Ms. Marcus, thank you.
clerk of council,
I have nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Allen,
No report, thank you.
Mrs. Witt,
Yes, thank you, Rocky. Thank you, Brent, for your presentations and for the update on the building. And I stand amazed every time I come in here, the work that they did getting this put together. I wondered how it would work, but it seems to be working really good. So thanks to all that participated. I know it was a job.
Mr. Miller,
Nothing further, thank you.
Mr. Burchett.
No report, thank you.
And I have nothing, so we will recess at this time to executive session for matters pertaining to sale of city-owned real estate with no business to follow at 6:29.